Hello, everyone. I'm Janna Mandell, Senior Editor at BeautyMatter. As everyone in this room knows, the beauty industry has become quite saturated, which means consumers are constantly bombarded with noise on social media. In this age of misinformation, consumers don't know what to believe. Their customers, are force-fed endless content by the algorithm, making it a challenge for both new and heritage brands to stand out while building a loyal community. Every brand founder wants to convey authenticity and build loyalty with their customers, but you have to catch their attention first. I personally have seen brands playing Russian roulette with rage bait and gimmicky shock campaigns, trying to grab a chokehold of consumers' attention, demanding entry into the zeitgeist. So they capture the attention, they go on Estée Laundry, and then what? How do brands build trust with customers while navigating the whiplash of constant cultural shifts? And how do brands develop an ethos that translates to every marketing and social media communication? Let's dig in. Dakota, I want to start with you. As we all know, Decium's The Ordinary is no stranger to edgy marketing campaigns. Yet no matter how edgy, these campaigns always seem to support your brand's ethos. But there's always risk. How do you inherently know the difference between productively provocative and shock?
So I guess it kind of goes back to the beginning because, we've now been around for almost 10 years, which is crazy to think about. But when the concept really behind The Ordinary came out of frustration. So it was this overwhelming frustration with an industry, the one that we're all in, because for so long, and this was Brandon, our founder's philosophy, but what was that? We had been, in a way, lied to, right? So Decium, we had 10 brands. People weren't really getting it. So then the 11th brand was The Ordinary. And so it came out of this frustration. And in a weird way, that actually ended up being our first campaign. So the intention was never to have this big campaign. The intention was just to tell the truth. And so I think, your question in a lot of ways is about, how do you balance that risk, right? We were doing something we didn't really realize was that risky, but I'll tell you, everyone told us that this was not going to work. They said, I feel like you and I can tell this story from like 8, 9 years ago, but they told us, your packaging is too white, no one, that's gonna get dirty on shelves. They said, no one, this price point is too low. No one's ever going to buy this. I won't mention the retailer, but famously said to us, is there a zero missing? And then, of course, we were told that no one was ever going to understand hyaluronic acid. So I think it just goes back to the why, right? And what are you doing it for in the first place? Because again, we weren't doing this to be gimmicky. We were doing this out of frustration to tell the truth. And I think now that's what's carried us forward in so many ways.
Yeah. And it's that kind of brutal honesty of it that I think really resonates.
Yeah, and I mean, some people like that. I mean, we've made our fair share of enemies, right? I don't think everyone understood it at the beginning because a lot of what we were doing was calling bullshit.
Yeah. So Nina, it was no accident when Taylor Swift wore your gorgeous freckles, and I love that you're wearing them right now, by the way. It was no accident when she wore the patches to a Chiefs game famously in 2024, which triggered $1 million in DTC sales on your site within 2 days, right? But this wasn't paid PR. You guys got really scrappy and creative with how to get in front of her. Can you share a little bit of that strategy and how you did it?
So although it felt pretty serendipitous when we saw Taylor on the big TV screens wearing our Phase It glitter freckles, there were a lot of background maneuvers and levers our team pulled to get that to happen. So firstly, it was a good product celebrity fit. And if you don't choose the right product celebrity fit, it's not gonna work. When we launched our glitter freckles a year and a half ago, we started thinking about, well, who would this resonate with, that could be an iconic figure that could really represent our brand. And the dream person was Taylor, because obviously she's like, I think, one of the most, if not the most influential person of our time. And it happened to also be a really good product celebrity fit. And so we really manifested that and had no idea that it was going to come true, especially as fast as it did. And we started by seeding product around her as much as possible. So we initially sent product to her makeup artist, Lori Turk, and then we also sent product to all of the wives and the girlfriends of the chief players, thinking, hey, she might be in that skybox, and all the wives and girlfriends are wearing the glitter freckles, and she's gonna wanna like get in on that and root for Travis and be in that moment with them. And then we also sent to some of her friends. We sent to Sabrina Carpenter, who we knew was opening for her during the Eras tour. So to this day, it was a complete surprise. It was very organic. We had no idea she was going to wear them. And we don't know exactly which one of those levers, if it might have been all of them, that actually made that moment happen. But what we do know is we increased our odds exponentially for that moment to happen by A, having the right product celebrity fit and making sure, like our products resonate with Taylor. She's loves glitter, she loves sparkle, she is very femme. And then also by getting her visibility, getting us visible around her as much as possible and planting that seed in as many different ways as possible. So we made that happen by increasing our odds with really no spend.
I love that. I love that you got scrappy with it and it worked.
Yeah.
Gabbie, your company's Song Candy helps brands create sticky content, but you're not relying on shock value. How do you create these brand strategies around music, and what types of data are you analyzing for these campaigns?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I feel like audio is something that brands kind of underestimate the power of. We really think about song and audio as a powerful storytelling tool that can really create connection. A study found that audio is actually 5 times more memorable than visuals alone. And so that's something that I really like to think about, and can also, we've seen studies that it helps increase things like ad recall and even purchase intent, especially on platforms like TikTok, where music has such discoverability. So when we work with brands, we start by thinking about the full picture, right? Who are we trying to reach? What consumer insights and platform trends can we lean into? And who are the right creators to bring that to life? But then we also ask ourselves, where can audio step in and help amplify that message? We're marketers, and music is very much an art, but we take our marketing mindset and use data. So we have a tool where we look at music audience insights. We can look at what's trending on TikTok, on Spotify, Billboard, and see what music genres and artists are over-indexing with certain audiences. So when we're working on a campaign and we're making music, we want to make sure that we can say, hey, like, what's Gen Z into, or what's Gen X into? So that helps make sure whatever we create is not only memorable, but will be on trend for the audience. And I wanted to give 2 quick examples just to illustrate how we do that. So one of our clients, Kosas, we saw at the time that Pass, Pass, Smash trend, if you guys saw that a couple years ago, was really taking off. And that was very voiceover driven. So we made our own custom sound for our creator campaign that had a similar cadence. And we were able to show the SBF red flags and position Dream Beam as the answer to that. And it performed really great, and it helped the brand become their SBF become one of the top selling SBFs in Sephora. And the quick second example I have is for First Aid Beauty. So we actually wanted to look at our audience insights for music. We were working with creators, and we wanted to come up with a song for the brand's viral KP Bump Eraser. So we saw that retro funk pop, kind of driven by Dua Lipa and Doja Cat, was really taking off with Gen Z. This was a couple of years ago. So we leaned into that and made a song called TikTok Made Me Buy It within that genre. And it actually ended up taking off. People started posting other things that TikTok made them buy, not just the KP Bump Eraser. And it had over, I checked it yesterday, it has over 250,000 videos on TikTok. So I'd say for brands, the main takeaway is just, don't think of audio as an afterthought. Bring it in early into your creative process. Let data, guide your direction, and think about how you can live in people's heads and not just in their feed.
I love it. I love the integration of music. Nina, Taylor's freckles made headlines in 2024, but that was 2024. But somehow your brand maintained such momentum, and you have such an engaged audience. So it's obviously more than the Taylor effect. What is it about Phase It that makes your community so engaged?
I think it's really a lot about the product and the psychology of the product. It's the only product that I have really experienced is able to spark and ignite conversations and interactions with strangers or people you wouldn't normally start a conversation with. When you wear the Phase It glitter freckles, they are on your face. They're visible, they're noticeable. And the person who's wearing them too, they come off more approachable, right? If you're wearing glitter on your face, you're not gonna be intimidating. You look down to earth, you look a little open-minded, and it also conveys a sense of boldness and confidence because, you're saying, I'm okay with being seen. I'm okay with people acknowledging me and seeing me. And so I think the combination of the product itself being pretty and sparkly, but also the energy that emits from the message you're sending as a wearer of the product is captivating and radiates and brings people in to ignite conversation and start talking to you to see, why are you wearing the product? Personally, I knew this product was going to be massive when I got the samples and started wearing them around New York City and LA, just to see the reaction and to see, is this theory actually going to play out the way I'm hypothesizing it to play out? It's inevitably, when I wear these products, either I get people coming up to me asking, what is that? Where can I buy it? Oh, I love them. Or I get, oh my gosh, I love Phase It. I wore them last week to a bachelorette. Woo, we're Phase It sisters, and they have no idea I'm the co-founder, and it's this little moment of authenticity that happens. I think that, I've also had many consumers tell me that they've actually met friends or significant others by wearing the product because it's that good of an icebreaker and a conversation starter. We did a small poll with some of our customers, and they said that on average they talk to at least 10 more people a night or a day whenever they're wearing the products. And I think that is what makes, going back to your question of why our audience is so captivated by the product, it goes beyond just the beauty of the product, right? It goes beyond just the feeling of confidence or prettiness that you feel when you put on most cosmetics. There's a human connection there that a lot of us are craving, especially in this day and age where it's hard to meet people organically. There's that psychological element, and it really is what makes people feel like Phase It is more than just a brand, but it's a experience. It makes memories for them.
I love that. Dakota, The Ordinary has almost 2 million followers on TikTok, 2.8 million on Instagram. You've said before to me that your tight-knit community is what drives your virality, but it's also your marketing campaigns. I don't know if everyone has seen The Ordinary's most recent, The Periodic Fable. The way I described it to Dakota is that it's super creepy. It gives Clockwork Orange meets Black Mirror and another brick in the wall. What is it about The Ordinary that makes these types of campaigns so effective with your audience?
I agree. When I first saw it, the team sent me a teaser before it went out, and I was like, are you sure? I got myself scared, right? But I think it almost goes a step back. It actually goes, I talked a little bit about how, just our foundation story on its own was a little bit of a campaign unintentionally. But then in 2019, early 2019, this was like clean era, right? So this is right when clean is starting to get traction. This is from a retailer perspective when you're starting to have kind of that shift in the trend, right? And we had just lost our founder, Brandon, which was an unbelievably difficult experience on its own. And our team is sitting there and we're being told, there's the clean movement and you need to conform. And if you're going to work in retail, this is what you have to do. And there was this inner Brandon, like fighting spirit that came out not of a marketing team, of the lab, of the 150 scientists that work at Deciem. And so you had an actual marketing campaign created by scientists, which is our entire point. And so that campaign was Everything is Chemicals.
Yep.
And it really came from the concept that whether it is water, oxygen, vitamin C, everything is a chemical. And again, we ruffled lots of feathers by telling, in many ways, the truth, that there wasn't a thing called chemical-free. And so when we talk about, that was 2019, fast forward to where we are today, the campaigns have evolved. And so something like the periodic fable, it actually just goes back to the same point, though. It goes back to knowing your customer, and even more so knowing yourself, knowing the brand and why you're even there in the first place and what you came to do. And we came to be transparent, and we came to educate. And so for those that are not familiar with the campaign, there's 49 very not true things. I'll give you an example. There's one that's poreless. So newsflash, you can't get rid of your pores. I hate to be the one to break it. But I think, to the point of it being dystopian, the beauty industry at times can feel a bit dystopian. Why do I not want pores, right? So I think it just made us go even further back into who we've always been. And so I think for any brands that are obviously starting or as you go through your evolution, people are going to tell you a lot of different things about how to make your brand, how to change it, how to be successful in retail, et cetera. And there's a lot of amazing advice out there. But if you don't have, we talked about risk a second ago, but if you don't have the reason for being so crystal clear, and ours is science, that is it. And so if you don't have that, you have to be a little risky. You have to take risk. And it's definitely not always going to work. Trust me, I've gotten my hand slapped plenty of times. But on the times it does, you get 4.5 million impressions, which is what that last campaign did.
I forgot to ask you this last night, but is the timing of it, the month of Halloween, accidental?
I felt the same way at first. No, so it's not meant to be. At first I thought, is this dropping on October 31st? But no, that's the way that the calendar worked. But what actually ended up working very conveniently is we published a book called Ingredients, which is a coffee table book in partnership with Rizzoli that launched yesterday. And it was nice because it shows that campaigns aren't just these standalone things that just kind of live in the world and there they go, right? We had this campaign talking about education and pointing towards the truth. And then we were able to launch this book that tells you the truth. So first we're saying, here's all the falsities that exist. Here's the magic, right? Magic potion. Here's the truth. So there's the connectivity, I think, to be able to actually give the consumer the answer and not just leave them hanging suspended with a campaign on its own.
It gives them something to believe in.
It gives them something to believe in. And also for me, what a privilege it was to make an actual thing that wasn't a product. It wasn't a bottle, right? It was a book. And to give that education, and I've had such great conversations, honestly, here today about ways that book can help further generations of people that are just science geeks, which is what our team is.
I love it. Gabbie, something that you teach your clients is how to connect with their audience in an authentic way. And I know that one of your biggest strategies is working with micro-influencers. Why do you think that is so effective?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we talk about authenticity a lot, and it can turn into a buzzword. But if you just boil it down to what it really means, it means it's trust. So I think, if you're a newer brand looking to carve out a niche in your industry, micro-influencers, they tend to have, really engaged communities. I personally follow like a handful of micro-influencers that maybe my friends or even my coworkers haven't heard of, but me and the community that's part of that, like we care about what they're doing every day. They're tastemakers in that community, and I'm checking out what they bought at Sephora, and I trust their opinions, and I even ask questions, and they answer me, which is amazing. So when you're thinking about how can I stand out, how can I partner with influencers, I always like to tell brands, like, well, let's start at the beginning. Who's your customer? Excuse me. Where are they spending time? What platforms are they on? What sub-communities are they part of? Beauty is, it's a given, but there's a lot of different sub-communities that you can tap into, whether that be wellness, gaming, mom talk, book talk, and one that I think doesn't always occur to brands, but it's comedy. Comedy is actually the highest shared type of content on social, and those creators are really skilled at creating content that people want to watch and engage with. And so, if you partner with, let's say, like a sketch comedy person, that could be a really great way to help your brand stand out amongst the sea of sameness. I'd say we work with mega creators all the way down to micro creators, but it's the micro creators that I feel like really bring that authenticity, and we can scale that. And the last piece of advice I'd say is, not only have some budget set aside for creator partnerships, but these platforms have become a pay-to-play space. So making sure you have some budget set aside to amplify that content with paid media, because that's really going to get you the most out of your partnerships. And if you find creators that are helping move the needle for you, continue to work with them over time. With our clients, some creators we work with month over month, quarter over quarter. A study I saw recently said 71% of consumers find that ongoing creator partnerships with brands are more credible than just those one-off sponsorships. So that's something that we really try and focus on. It's not just a one and done. These creators we partner with truly embrace the brand and care about it.
Love it. Nina, we already talked about how you seeded around Taylor Swift. And I know that Phase It shows up at concerts and festivals, which is expected. True transparency, my daughter did just wear the freckles to a Tate McRae show, got a lot of compliments. But what I love is that you told me that you're also seeding it in places I didn't expect, right? So you're at Comic-Con, you're at the marathon giving them out. So tell us a little bit, like, how are you able to capture those different niche audiences? Is your brand story changing? Like, how do you come up with where to seed it?
Each audience connects with Phase It for different overarching reasons, but the common thread really, at the end of the day, is about expression and finding confidence. So whether you're a marathon runner and you're wearing the freckles to feel stronger or more powerful, or you're going to Comic-Con and you're wearing the freckles to have a transformative creative moment, or you're going to a festival and you want to wear them to feel free and free-spirited and just have fun. The situations change, but the emotion that people get from the product is the same no matter what. And I think that's what Phase It does. It amplifies moments. And when I think about this from a strategic standpoint, when you wear Phase It to all these different events, it opens, it creates these moments where universally people are craving the same thing, even if they're celebrating different moments in time. And everyone wants to feel confident. Everyone wants to feel like they're able to express whatever they're celebrating. So even though we don't target specific demographics, we let those demographics target us. And we do that by sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. We don't target specific demographics, demographics target us. And we do that by letting people have these expressive moments where they're out and about, maybe even wearing the FAZE-IT products because they are at a concert, they're at Renaissance Fair, they're at a bachelorette, and they're using the products to emphasize a moment in time that they're celebrating. And that's when we then go in and say, okay, let's invest in this niche community because they're already finding us and they're already resonating with our brand. So we allow them to kind of come to us first, and then we build that relationship with that niche audience. And we might do that through doing live in-person activations at marathons, for example, or by actually creating products and designs and colors that help emphasize whatever occasion these people are wearing our freckles to, whether it's a sports game or Renaissance Fair or something like that.
So before I open it up to Q&A, Dakota, obviously you have a very loyal and engaged community. We've talked about your Facebook group that you didn't even start, and you have hundreds of thousands of people.
200,000
Yeah. I've known you a long time, and I know that you share a trauma with your audience when Brandon died. And during his breakdown, it was very in your face. From Estee Lauder to the cut, it was tough, and it was a sea of negativity. Can you tell us, how did you, as a company, navigate that? You're navigating grieving, right? And navigating that sea of negativity.
I mean, to give you guys context, 2018 was the worst year of my life. It was the worst year of anyone at Decium's life. It was both personally and professionally. I mean, we lost a genius and someone that we loved and will never, ever have another. I mean, Brandon Truax changed the world, at least this world. You go into Trader Joe's and you see hyaluronic acid on the front of a bottle, and I know who did that. And so I think what's hard is now we're conscious of mental health, right? We're conscious of the words that we use. Those words did not exist in 2019. And the way that the industry and social and press together fueled someone's very clear downfall led by mental health was a really painful experience to live. And it also made us as a team that much more committed to the mission, because with him no longer guiding us, we felt this, I mentioned the Everything is Chemicals campaign because it was like this inner spirit, and we have such a need to preserve what he started. And so I think how we came back, honestly, is you guys, I'm sure everyone in this room has failed at something before or fallen, and you pick yourself back up. And we had each other to do that with. But I mean, it took a lot. Press wouldn't answer my calls. I mean, you did. A lot of people, it took a long time to get back with our retail partners and to show that, yes, we're still the same team. We still have the same North Star. But I think I think the industry is a lot kinder, and I think social has evolved in a way. But I really think it's the people you hire correctly, and you surround yourself with that talent, and that is who will carry you through.
And you listen to the scientists.
Listen to the scientists. Take that, if that's all you take from me.
Ladies, thank you so much. We have time for maybe one or two questions. Did anybody have a question? Oh, there's a question.
Hi, my question is for Dakota. You talked about taking risks and sometimes getting your hand slapped. Can you talk to us about how you come back from that, both from like a stakeholder management standpoint internally, and then also from a marketing standpoint? Do you address it? Do you just move on? Tell us how you think through that.
So thank you for the question. For those who don't know, we had a minority investment by the Estee Lauder companies. We now are fully owned by ELC. And I think that layers on a whole new level when you're talking about risk, right? And how you choose to fail. And so I think for us, the mission, and I've had conversations today about this, is fail fast. Because we all know it's gonna happen. We all know we're gonna make some risky choices. And I genuinely think if you are not taking risks, you are playing small. And like the risk, that's how you get up there. Like you have to go for it, right? But to your point about stakeholder management and how do we make everyone happy? So we had a campaign in New York where we launched eggs in our stores, if anyone has seen it. That was pretty risky. And I will say the team that pulled that off is unbelievable. I'm constantly impressed by them. And they took a big risk by doing that. And there was definitely some hand slapping that took place. But in that case, it really worked. I think in cases where it doesn't work, yes, you acknowledgement, but like you gotta just move on fast. I think it is the speed. I think what's nice for us, we're vertically integrated. The speed and our agility is what lets us go faster, and like we don't have time to cry over spilled milk because we've got stuff to do, right? So I think it really is, you do the best you can to manage before, you know you're taking a big risk, and then it's how fast can you move on afterwards? I hope that's helpful.
Any other questions? Well, thank you everybody for coming to our panel. Enjoy the rest of the day.